Good afternoon. You're watching Times TV, and today I am at the Oman Convention and Exhibition Center where the World Heavy Oil Congress is currently taking place. With me right now is the Technical Director of PDO. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you for asking me.
Right, so sir, what exactly is happening here? The World Heavy Oil Congress, what is it for the viewers?
Firstly, it's actually a great honor for Oman to be hosting it, particularly given that Oman is such a big player in the heavy oil world. Heavy oil is classified as crude that is generally less than 20 API.
Right.
We have a lot of it, and this is a gathering of the world who deal with heavy oil, either in exploring for it, producing it, refining it, and a chance for people to get together, share technical knowledge,
Right.
and companies also to showcase their technologies. But for me, the most important thing is that it's being held here.
Right. So is it the first time it's happening in Oman?
It's the first time it's been happening in Oman. It's been generally in Canada and the United States, where they were centers of heavy oil, still are, but I think it's a recognition of just how much not only does PDO rely on heavy oil, but how far advanced it is in its technology application.
Right. So over here in the exhibition, who are the exhibitors and what are they trying to promote essentially?
I think you've got the full mix. You've got a mixture of operators who are obviously presenting their activities and what they do. You have technology providers, people who do all the various things that are associated, particularly on my side, which is the exploration and production.
Right.
So you've got people who, chemical companies for the chemical EOR. I saw a company there that's promoting its heaters,
Right.
because in heavy oil, heat is a key technology. You see Glasspoint, which
Yeah.
we're very closely related to, with their solar steam generators.
Right. Right. So what
But there are the downstream exhibitors, which I know less about, but
Right.
about how to deal with the heavy oil once it's been
I did
produced.
also see a few international exhibitors. I saw a stall from China, if I'm not wrong. The Bahrain minister is here as well. So what does that mean for Oman?
It's because this is the world's heavy oil Congress. We expected to have the world with us.
Right.
Hopefully, I believe next year is going to be here as well, and I'm just hoping that next year will be even bigger than this.
Right. Right. So heavy oil, essentially, if I'm not wrong, constitutes 40% of the world's oil reserve, which means it is important. And how exactly is it important for Oman, and do we have the resources in abundance?
Oman's oil reserves, 40% of it will be classified also as heavy oil. When we look to the future, I'm expecting 30% of our production to be not just from heavy oil, but also using enhanced oil recovery techniques. So absolutely key to the future of the Sultanate, future of PDO, is dealing with what God has given us, which is a large reserve of heavy oil.
Right. Right. So although I'm aware we're talking about diversification, Tanfeed is happening on the side, but there is still a huge dependence on oil in Oman and in the GCC. So what is the dependence on heavy oil specifically?
I don't think I wouldn't call it about dependence, because it's just what you've got.
Right.
Yeah, our lot has been that we have a large reserve, large part of our reserves are in the heavy category.
Right.
Yeah, so as a consequence, we are dependent on its exploitation.
Right.
Our neighbours, particularly like Saudi Arabia, by far their largest reserves are in the light category. That gives them different technology challenges that they tackle, and we have to deal with ours. So I don't think it's about dependency, it's about living with it and managing and optimizing what has been given to us.
Right. So where do you see it going though? Where is the future headed towards, especially with regards to the energy sector?
Well, one thing's for sure, that the world will still, for the next 20, 30, 40 years, will still be heavily dependent on oil. So what we've got to do is maximize recovery, minimize costs, and produce income that will allow the country to make the necessary transition, which I think is necessary, to a different sort of energy mix into the renewables.
Right.
To do that, obviously, you need economic growth. You can't transist, if I can use that word, without actually income. So
Right.
that's where I think our first role is to make sure that we actually are producing the cash surpluses that allow the country to invest.
Right.
The second duty we have, of course, is that probably our biggest asset is our people, and making use of our people to help the country in making that transition. So PDO does have a desire over time to become an energy company rather than just an oil company, looking at renewables, investing, researching,
Right.
and that's what I think our contribution will be.
Right, just speaking of renewables again, I would like to ask you again, as you work for the PDO, do you think we are using our resources judiciously and optimally with regards to solar energy, for example?
Yeah, I think the answer to that can only be for me, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah? We have led the way in one of our steam projects has got solar steam right now being produced and injected.
Right.
So on that side of it,
Instead of natural gas?
instead of gas.
Okay.
So already we're taking the lead, and we expect actually, and we are promoting the expansion of use of solar steam, not just within PDO, but with other companies in Oman, and hopefully there's talk of it being in Kuwait. So we believe that by having led the way there, we've actually done a good service to the world.
So would you say that oil and gas and the renewables sector is essentially working hand in hand and together right now?
We're at the beginnings of that.
Yeah.
But it can only be one way. There is no doubt in my mind that the future of the world depends on the development of cheap, renewable, low-cost renewable energy. The dream I have is that we end up competing with the rest of the world, but with the quality of our people, not the availability of low-cost energy, which is the competitive situation today. So
Right.
hopefully we take energy out of the equation, and it's then inventiveness, imagination, entrepreneurship that actually will sort out between success and less success.
Right, it's interesting you mentioned entrepreneurship, because my next question was about SMEs, about how the sector in general, the food sector, could support the local SMEs in the nation. Is that something you're looking at?
Yeah, that's something that's very much in the heart of what we do. We have a whole directorate that is called ICV, in Country Valley. That a key part of what they do is to make sure that SMEs are being supported, that whenever opportunities come, that SMEs are taking part in our tenders, and as I say, the whole industry in PDO around that.
Right. But thank you so much for your time, sir, and thank you so much for this exhibition and talking to us here.
You're welcome.
And thank you for watching
Okay.
Times TV.